Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great to see you coming in on this fantastic Wednesday evening, afternoon on my side here. As many of you know, I'm Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook, and it's my absolute pleasure to see you joining us today for this afternoon session on Waybook product updates, of course, for July 2023. It's great to see some familiar names and faces coming into today's session. So welcome if you are a regular here in this spot, which has become one of my favorite spots of the week. And if this is your first product updates webinar, then welcome to you too. Over today's session, it was about 25-30 minutes or so. We're going to just have a look at some of the top spots that have gone out into your Waybook account over the last 4 or so weeks, and give you a bit of a hint in terms of what's coming up, and of course open our eyes and ears to what else you might want within your Waybook account. Really the purpose of this is to keep you on top of what's going out and the changes that's available, and also to try and give some hints and tips on how you can better centralize your single source of truth and get the most amount of value you can from your Waybook account. So please do stay in touch as much as you can throughout this session. The 3 ways, as always, are we've got some polls coming your way. We have the chat, and the fantastic Sophia is in the background, who's there to answer any thoughts, questions, continue the chat as it comes up. And you've also got the Q&A icon as well. And if you hit the Q&A icon, that's your best chance to kind of ask any thoughts, share any thoughts, ask any questions you've got as we're coming through. And I'll keep a beady eye on that to answer things as they come up. But also, Sophia will be in the background saying hello and answering your questions as well. So we will begin. It looks like we've got a good amount of people in today's call. So I've just launching a bit of a poll to get a bit of a sense of who you are, what you're doing, and what your main kind of value is that you're trying to get out of your Waybook account. Typically, most people within these calls are in the earlier stages of their Waybook account, or are fully running and just want to kind of get up to speed and get more value out of your Waybook. So let's see what we're going to be covering in today's session. So firstly, we're going to be going through 4 core product updates in the last week or last few weeks. One of them is full version history. Now, those of you who are regular attendees to these webinars or regular watchers, if you're watching this on replay, will know that actually we've been doing quite a lot when it comes to version history, version control, and also making sure you've got all of the revisions of your documents. And the last 4 weeks, we've kind of moved even further in this direction, which means we now have a full complete set of versioning, version history, step revisions, and also comparisons. And the reason why I'm saying that now is because sometimes some of these things sound a bit similar, but I'll take this opportunity to kind of separate out what the value of these different aspects are. We're then also going to look at a feature which is very closely aligned to that, and that is your content revisions, your content revision history, and a new comparable view at how you can actually look at changes of an individual step and also changes of documents as you move forward. We've also been doing some work in terms of making it easier for you to manage your members, to optimize your team with less admin, less time, and making sure that you can really focus on creating the value for your team and the knowledge where possible. And that is included within archiving members and a few others. And then, of course, as you know, we're always optimizing how you can present your documents and create this really effective single source of truth. And that is inline code snippets has gone out in the last few weeks as well. We'll also give you a bit of a hint and tip in terms of what's coming up. We're working on some very exciting things. So I'll see what I can show you depending on the time that we've got left. Now, looking at this session today, it looks like we're primarily operations in today's call, which is exciting. We've got a few other people from other departments, and of course, owner founders, which we tend to always have on the calls as well. The biggest reason we're all here to do is to create and house our SOPs, which makes a lot of sense if a lot of us are in operations. And most of us are within that 20 to 200 team size, which is amazing. So thanks for sharing that. It's always lovely to see who actually is here. Now, let's just take a quick look. I might have shared this specific example before, so for you regular watchers, bear with me, but just a quick reminder of what success looks like when you create your single source of truth within your Waybook. We really exist to help you get your business on the same page and take that kind of create that headspace in your minds, in the minds of your senior leaders, to decant all of that business knowledge into this single structured searchable format. Once you've kind of got that there, it's useful for your onboarding, for your training, for updating documents and delegating that to your team. And really, one great example of this, which we've spoken to relatively recently, is to the fantastic Josh Turner for Stanford Socks. Josh runs an e-commerce store which sells socks for all different designs, all different reasons, and has a very strong social focus behind them as well. And when they actually switched to Waybook for their onboarding, they realized that they could actually reduce the management and onboarding time of their team by 80%. So it took them just 20% to onboard their team members. But also Josh was able to remove himself from all of those day-to-day operations, which essentially meant that he had the time, the headspace to work on new challenges. And the consistency that they achieved through having that, he believes, is very important to actually them improving their satisfaction on Trustpilot to 4.8 and maintaining those levels there as well. So if you're seeing some exciting things from your use of Waybook, let us know, because we love to hear what you're doing and how you're finding value from it. But without further ado, let's jump into today's first feature that we're going to look at, and that is, of course, our full version history. If you just bear with me. So as I mentioned, full version history is essentially another addition in terms of giving you the full control of all of your knowledge, and both what it is today and what it has looked at previously. Now, we looked at this very briefly last month in terms of versioning, and you can see that's here in terms of Waybook automatically versioning your documents. You always know what version they are and what dates they were versioned and things like that. But now you're able to look back at all of those full version history. And really, this is for the purpose of making sure that you can manage those documents from a high level compliance background. So you can always look at those previous versions, but also making it really important for you to understand the iterative changes of those documents moving forward. Now, what this actually is every time that you're creating a new update to that document, it will create a compliance tracked version of that. And essentially that means that you can then look back at an entire document and look at that entire version. Now, this is available on all Pro plans, but we do actually store this data, or at least the version numbers, for your core plan, so any Waybook account. Now, I'm just going to jump into a Waybook document and we can have a quick look at where that is. And I'll also take a little bit of that time just to create the core difference between what the revision history is and also the difference between versions. So jumping into a document now, so many of you will know that we're looking in a category, into a subject, and then into a document. You'll notice that in a document, we have all of the controls at the top here are related to the entire document. And all of the controls that you'll see, if I go into edit mode here, on an individual step basis, both here and here, are related to the step. And that's just a really important distinction to make when you're kind of editing or making core changes to your documents. So the recent update which has happened here is actually very much on the version history, and that is accessible by clicking on the version number there, or actually if we click into this three-dot icon, you can go to the versions once again at that document level. Now, from that document level, you'll be able to see all of the previous versions, who performed that activity, what that activity was, and you'll see that also this is automatically kind of numbered based on how you publish that. So a major change is every time you publish and track the changes to your team, and a minor change is every time you make a publish and you don't notify your team members, so you don't require them to recomplete. If you make a minor change, that would just go up 0.1, and if you make a major change, it will go up a version. Now, looking at this full version history, it will have all of those previous versions of that document over the years, months, weeks, days, however long you've been managing your documents within Waybook. Now, at any point, you can click into a previous version of that document, and you'll be able to look at that document there. But you can also then download that document as a PDF if you wanted a previous documented hard copy of that. But what you're also able to do here is you're able to compare any of those previous versions. And this is a brand new feature which has come out as well. So if we go on to compare, we can essentially compare any of the full documents that we're looking at against any of the others. So we're currently comparing here the working copy against any of the previous versions we have. So let's just look at that compared to version 18. And you'll be able to see on the steps here, what steps have had changes, and on those steps, what those changes were. So you can see that we've removed this new content, we've changed this piece of content here, and that's now all color coded. So you can actually be able to look at any of those across any of your version history. Now, this is the real full version history, the comprehensive tool. As I mentioned, some of this on the full documents is available only in the Pro plan, and that's really because we're storing years and years of previous documents within that on each of your accounts, and it's largely used for Pro means, so in terms of making sure that you're tracking your compliance and you're keeping a kind of recorded history of all of your previous documents. Now, this is different, however, to the step revisions, and this is what you would previously have found in this menu here. But now those revisions that you've come to use and expect are really used mainly for editing and changes to your documents on an individual step basis. Now, they are now called step revisions, and you can actually access that on any of your individual steps by clicking that three-dot menu to go to step revisions here, or clicking this three-dot menu and going to step revisions there. Now, this will essentially show you all of the changes that have happened to that step, when they changed, who made that change, and of course you can then jump into that change and you can revert back to previous versions. Now, the core differential here is this is largely used for iterating your documents, moving your documents forward, making sure you can collaborate with your team, reverting back to previous versions, whereas the full version history is really focused on actually keeping a compliant record of your documents as they've changed over time. So I know I've over-discussed and overshared that, but I thought it was really useful to actually share the distinction between the two and make sure that you're fully equipped with what you need in order for your specific use case. Now, the second core change which has been made this month is very much related to this, and this is actually the content revision, but specifically the color-coded content revision. Now, the reason why this has become a thing was because we heard from lots of people that quite often when people have a request for review, the people who are probably most time-strapped are the ones that are looking at those suggested edits. They're having to look at the differences between documents. And even though we previously showed a side-by-side comparison of that document, that would then require that person who's publishing to look through all of the different versions of that document and make sure that they're spotting the differences. So now, with the content revision change, you'll be able to, at a very quick view, see what edits, changes, amendments, deletions have happened on an individual step basis. And that means that you can really efficiently understand what changes have been made and actually whether or not that's something that should be disseminated to your team. So in essence, we've seen it very briefly there on the full version history, and I'll show you again on step revisions, but it is the color-coded track changes where you can compare those within an individual step or, of course, on a document. So now this is something that's available in all of your accounts, in all of your documents, and you can access this by heading into that section I was just sharing there. So if I head back into this document, you'll be able to see, once again, if you click on the step settings, and on any of those there, go into that step revision. If you want to compare this version of this step with a previous version, and again, again, it can be any of those versions, you can just click into that and you can see what those changes are. The things that have been deleted or amended will have been redded out, and the new things will have green for you to be able to then go through, make sure you're happy with that change. And of course, if you then want to revert back to a previous version, so we've deleted this line, but perhaps we want to actually put it back in, of course, you just simply click revert. That will then add that, switch back to that previous document, and then you'll be able to kind of publish that change and move forward. Now, that is hopefully something that will save you heaps of time when you're making changes. And just so I'm kind of stitching all of these uses together, as I mentioned before, if somebody's making a change and pushing for review, that's basically where someone makes an edit on a document, and instead of hitting publish, maybe because they want a second opinion or they don't have publish permission, they simply click request for review. They'll send that review to somebody else. So let me just, and also you can send it to multiple people. You can add a message and then you can submit that for review, which will then notify those team members to say, hey, there is a new document or a new change. They can then look at that change and then publish that to share it with the team. So hopefully that now gives you the real comprehensive ability for you to collaborate on documents, always keep a vision of where you've been, always see who has made those edits, communicate around the changes to that document, share that with your team, and of course, with the full document history, always have a version of knowing who has seen what, when, over time. So we're really excited about the changes and the power that that will bring to your Waybook account. Of course, with all of these things, there'll be full support and information and tutorials on how you can use that. But if you do have any questions that you feel like we've not answered, then of course, please do let us know. So the penultimate thing I wanted to share with you today, the third feature, is about archiving members. Now, of course, within your Waybook account, your billing plans are always very flexible. You can always add new team members. You can always remove team members. You can always swap seats and swap teams. However, we also know that sometimes for some people using Waybook for perhaps teams with a bit of flexibility in how many people they have at different times, you can sometimes find yourself removing people from Waybook, adding people back in, and it restarting their progress. Or perhaps in our case, if you have somebody on maternity leave, you might not want them to have a seat on the Waybook for that 8, 9, 10, 12 months of their maternity leave. And I know that's different if you're in the UK here or if you're in the US or anywhere else. But whenever somebody's not at work, you might not want them to have a seat on your Waybook, but you don't want to remove all of their status and then throw them back in. So you can now archive members. Now, archiving members really enables you to have that higher level form of management around your team, but with a lot less admin and keeping that continued experience for your team. So what you're able to do here is you're able to simply archive any of those team members to pause that access and free up those seats plans whilst keeping that access and their progress. Now, this is again available in all of your plans. And if I just show you exactly how to do that, you can jump into your Waybook, head over to your members, and if you go onto the specific page of any of your members, now I know many of you use groups to manage the permissions, but remember you can always actually look at an individual member. So if we go to Andrea here, we're able to look at what Andrea's role is, what group she is a part of, the specific content she has access to, and of course, if we don't want to use groups, you can even override, hide, edit, boost, change all of those permissions on that individual person's basis, or of course, remove the override so it defaults back to groups. But if you scroll all the way down here, you can also see what flows they have. And this really builds up a full picture of that person's experience on Waybook. But at the very bottom, you'll see the goods that we're looking for here. And this is the ability to archive. Now, if I archive Andrea there, she will still sit within our members list. She will still come up as archived, and of course you'll be able to head over to your archived users and see all of that. You will still be able to see her in reports if she's still got that access. You've got all of that history. But of course, when Andrea is ready to return or she's coming back and you want to kind of get her back up to speed, you simply unarchive Andrea, and then she will be able to jump straight back in where she left off with all of the same permissions, all of the same statuses, and of course be updated on the changes that have been made since she's been away. So I hope that's useful for many of you. I know that's been quite hotly requested, so we're really excited to get that out to you and be valuable within your account. Now, the final thing I'll share with you today, it's a smaller one, but I know it's much more meaningful for people who are using types of code within their Waybook. And we've also done some other changes to the editing of the documents within Waybook, but this specific change is enabling you to have inline code snippets. Now, we know that lots of people share snippets of code through their Waybook within their SOPs, their policies, their procedures. And we know this ranges from the HTML of marketing emails down to small scripts for people to run to do various different technology processes internally, all the way down to chunks of code, links and other scripts to run. Now, within Waybook, you can, of course, have a code block within your Waybook account. But if you wanted to actually share just a small snippet, you would actually need to break the flow of that information, whereas now you can just do it as an inline code snippet. So the real reason for this enables you to actually enable more of a rich document view, making it more digestible and flowy for your team to go through that content that you're sharing with them. And actually this is available in all of your accounts, in all of your text editor. And once again, I'll just jump back into that Waybook to show you how it is. So again, we'll head into this document. Make sure you're in edit mode. Now, as we're creating new documents, you know this already, you can click on the plus icon to see all of the different things that you can add. You can also access that menu at the beginning of any line by slash and typing. So you're able to add in a code snippet, as I've mentioned here, and this has been within Waybook for many, many times now. Within a code snippet here, you'll be able to kind of put in various different codes, lots of stuff, and you can have lots of different scripts within here. But say, for example, you wanted to just open a file type, for example, and if you have a file type, which basically, let's have this as a step, kind of open the file in, and you want to share a file path. Now, sometimes when you share a file path like this, it might actually remove if it's got special characters, it might actually not be connected to either the purpose of that code. But now you'll be able to highlight that. And if you click this icon up here, the code, that will then turn that into an inline code snippet, which basically keeps it all of the kind of integrity of that code without actually changing changing a different block and changing the flow of that communication. So I know that that's something that if you're using that, it's going to be massively valuable. If not, it may be something that you come to and find that value in the very near future, or perhaps one of your colleagues. But there's also been lots of other smaller tweaks and changes across your Waybook editor. So keep your eyes peeled for them as they continue to come. As you know, we don't take things away, so it's just different types of things which you can add in, different embed sources and things like that. So now we're closing relatively soon within this. So I'm coming to the point where I'm going to start asking you if you've got any thoughts, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat or in the Q&A section. It's been quite quiet today in comparison to some of these sessions previously. But whilst I'm just keeping an eye out for questions from all of you good people, I'll just give you a bit of a sense of what is coming next. Now, you know, we're always building, there's lots of stuff coming out. We actually have an enhanced and additional AI set of features which are coming out to you very soon. One of them, I believe I might have shared a little bit with you before, and really I can show you this now. This is actually an AI structure builder. So you know that once you've initially created your structure for your Waybook, you jump in and it will take you through the best practice of your type of business and your type of size of a business. But we also are continuing to fine tune our AI structure builder, which enables you to create additional segments of documentation. So for new departments, for new teams, and this is really focusing on the structure and organization. So if we say create a marketing playbook for a legal practice, now this could be a great scenario where there is an existing marketing function within your business, but you want to mature what that looks like and almost look at what SOPs you need or how you can structure and organize that information. You'll be able to see here that that will essentially create a high level structure for some of those processes that you might like to create. So that is a feature which is really in the final stages of testing at the moment, and it will be within your account literally within about a week or so. So I will be here talking about that next week. We also have some additional features which are focused on AI, which just really create superpowers within your Waybook, which will be coming very, very soon as well. We also have a document explorer view. So this is the document manager view, which I shared with you 4 weeks ago. We've been doing lots of development and work on that. to really give you the holistic view of how you can manage your documents, and more changes have been happening across that. Those of you who have got in touch to share your thoughts, feedback, and beta test that, thank you very much. And we also are very excited to have an updated dashboard to both make it much more valuable for you as an admin or an editor of your account, to make sure you can continue to take more control of your knowledge within your Waybook. But crucially, we're also changing the dashboard to make it more focused and accessible for your team to get answers to their questions and to really have a clear direction of travel once they're onboarding themselves through your Waybook account. We also have lots more being developed, and of course, a very exciting roadmap with a very hungry team who are continuing to build out fantastic products and services for you within your Waybook account. But that does require you to continue being as generous and collaborative as you are from a feedback perspective. So please do let us know if there's things in your account that you would like to see more of, less of, new problems you're seeing that you would love to solve within Waybook, because we are always all ears and we're always excited to see how we can help you solve that utilizing Waybook. So without further ado, that does bring us to the end of today's session. So thank you all so much for joining once again. I have kept my eyes on the chat and it has been very quiet. So I will talk slowly in case somebody does have another question, and I can't see anything in Q&A. So that is really wrapping up today's session. Thank you so much for your time and attention. It's a real pleasure to see you jumping on these product update webinars. We hope that you found some additional value within Waybook. We cannot wait to continue to hear the stories of how you're growing your business and getting some of that support for scaling from Waybook. And we will continue to do all we can to help you get your business on the same page and get you back to enjoying some of that smooth scaling. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you back here next month when we'll be sharing some of the product updates for August 2023. Until then, enjoy the rest of the summer if you are on that side of the world, and I look forward to speaking to you very soon. Take care now.